Hey there, hope you had a really good weekend and welcome to this episode on the Insomnia Insight channel where we are going to go over five questions, or really multiple questions, but from five people: Mark, Vincent, Beebo, and Ari, I think, and Gabriella. I think that's it. So with that said, as always, nothing here is medical advice to anyone, but general thoughts and comments that you yourself have to be, you have to decide if it's something that applies to you or not. And by the way, to start off with this, thanks so much for all the comments and questions. That is super important, especially to Gabriella, who said, sorry, last question. No. The more questions, the better for me and the channel. So I'm really, really grateful for that. So that said, I actually was really wanted to start with this comment from Beebo that came in just as I typically stop creating content and answering questions, or I just kind of go offline Fridays mostly. But as Friday was winding down there, I got a couple of questions from people. These are all comments on Insomnia Insight number 262. And so let's go over it. I was really excited to answer this, actually. And so I think let's start. Let's actually read the comment here from Beebo. And Beebo said 4 days ago, I think the food analogy works to a certain extent. Basically, what I said was that one of the things I said in that episode was that not eating for a long time could potentially be really dangerous because the body cannot produce food. But with sleep, it's different because our body can produce sleep itself. So, when the body realizes this is not good, you haven't slept in a long time, eventually it can produce sleep, it can make us sleep. So Beebo said, I think the food analogy works to a certain extent. Remember, we have fat reserves. Studies show that there is a correlation between eating less, fasting, and longevity. There's so much out now on the health benefits of not eating for an extended period of time, increasing human growth hormones and autophagy. I cannot come up with health benefits of insomnia. But at least what you're saying is helpful. No point in dwelling on the sleep debt for insomnia. So first of all, Beebo, by the way, thanks so much for all the engagement here. And I said to Beebo, there are some studies showing that or generally speaking, sleeping like about 5 to 7 hours, that's correlated to longevity versus sleeping longer. But there's no proven causality. So if you sleep 4.5 hours, or if you sleep 7.5 hours, there's no reason for you to be like, oh my gosh, this is causing me to have an increased risk of that. No, that's never been shown. I think personally what happens is that people that sleep in that like 5 to 7 hour window, well, those are people who actually sleep. That's the most typical duration of sleep. That probably means that many of those people are probably in a good state of health. Meaning if you sleep less than 5 hours, or if you sleep like 8 to 9, 10 hours, there may be health issues that's causing you either to have very poor quality sleep and sleep little, or feel very tired and then kind of compensate by sleeping more. That's what I believe. And I mentioned that someone made a comment, I think, on this channel about how intermittent fasting is kind of like spending less time in bed. I can't remember exactly what that person said, but I just mentioned that. And then people said the following: could you do a video on intermittent fasting or eating, sleeping? I'm a 20+ year insomniac. I tried intermittent fasting for a long time because it is supposed to make sleeping worse in the beginning, but then improve sleep quality. That did not help at all for me, but I have chronic insomnia. I work with a sleep coach now, and she told me to go off the intermittent fasting and to eat regular meals to reset my circadian rhythm. That did not help much either, since my insomnia is chronic. I'm doing sleep restriction, but I have high anxiety and PTSD, so at a loss, but have to keep trying. Now, first of all, Beebo, I want to say this. When I read this part, lost, but I have to keep trying, that made me very encouraged. And I say that because of all the people that I've seen in clinic, in the hospital I work at, or people that I've interacted with just like this in the channel here, or that are now clients on Bedtime with a Y, which is available for iPhone, coming up for Android in a few weeks, weeks or months. All the people I've interacted with that have been committed to put in the work have gone on to either sleep good, like really good, or gone on to sleep, reasonably well, pretty good, like not being not worried about sleep and kind of accepting that they don't sleep fantastic, but that's okay, So somebody that's like finds meaningful help and sticks with it, in my opinion, is guaranteed to sleep better. To me, it's like losing weight. If you portion control, if you eat less and you exercise more, you're guaranteed to lose weight. It's not easy, but you're guaranteed to get that. So basically, yeah, I was super encouraged when I read that. That made me really happy. Now, here we go. So let's go over this. So intermittent fasting, or I guess intermittent eating and sleeping. So here are my thoughts on this. I've never come across any evidence that intermittent fasting is good for trouble sleeping or insomnia, or that eating really has any impact whatsoever, on insomnia. Well, whatsoever. Well, there will be some impact, meaning like if you ate like, I don't know, a huge meal before you went to bed, maybe you'll feel like really sick and you won't sleep well, of course. But apart from like some kind of extreme circumstances, no, like the pattern of eating or the food content, if you have protein, if you eat vegan, if you eat like if you're pescatarian, or like timing of it, in my opinion, has no impact, no significant impact, at least on insomnia and sleeping. The belief, however, that if I eat this way, I might sleep like that can be very problematic. And so eating can become like any other sleep effort. Sleep effort is something we do to produce sleep. And some classic sleep efforts are keeping it cool in the bedroom, wearing a sleep mask, or taking melatonin, or something like that. Those are kind of classic sleep efforts, or things that we do to produce sleep. Common ones are like yoga, meditation, running, also things that people often do with the purpose of sleeping more. Whenever we do something with the purpose of sleeping more, the opposite happens, because we cannot control sleep, we cannot produce sleep. But whenever you try to do something that is impossible, you become frustrated and confused, and it just backfires. So same thing with eating pattern and food choices. If you like intermittent fasting, if it makes you feel good and maybe helps you with the weight control and things like that, then that's amazing. Of course you should do that. But if you're doing it with the purpose of that making you sleep, then maybe nothing will happen, or even more likely the opposite will happen. You will be like, I did intermittent fasting for 3 days, I'm not sleeping more, maybe I should change it, maybe I should tweak it and see. And then that leads you to self-monitoring and like preoccupation and worrying and things like that. So again, intermittent fasting, in my opinion, has no impact on sleep quality or insomnia or sleep at all. And then if you go back to eat regular, I believe that has no impact at all either. Now, a couple more things. I read here that you had insomnia for a long time, and you mentioned that did not help for me, but I have chronic insomnia. Meaning, I read between the lines there that you may be thinking that for somebody else that doesn't have chronic insomnia, maybe it could help. Now, something that is very common among people that have trouble sleeping is the belief that something unusual, strange, bizarre, or just rare or different is happening to them. Some people, and it could be a lot of things, some people will mention that my insomnia started because I was traveling and therefore it start with traveling, so that makes it kind of unusual. Or some people feel like, I'm never tired, I'm just never ever tired, so my insomnia is different. Or I don't have trouble falling asleep, I have sleep maintenance insomnia, my insomnia is different. A lot of people have this belief that their insomnia is different. And from the inside perspective, insomnia can often seem really strange and bizarre. Like, why can't I do something that is so basic? Everybody else can sleep. Why can't I sleep? And also looking for, or finding reasons why your own insomnia is different than others could also be a way of, how should I put it? It could be a natural kind of trial and error thing, meaning like we naturally don't want to do something that we think is just going to be a waste of time. So by saying, oh, that person had a different insomnia than I do, and even though that thing that person did worked for them, it's probably not going to work for me. That could be a mechanism of us kind of avoiding extra work and wasting time, so to speak. So there could be more than one reason why a lot of people have this belief that their insomnia is different. And I kind of read that a little bit here. I have chronic insomnia. And here's the thing, that the belief that your insomnia is different than that of others leads down a path of looking for looking for a specific cause that you have it, looking for something that will work for you, looking for maybe an unusual or different remedy because your insomnia is different. It typically leads down the path of like searching, exploring, looking, trying, and which then again just creates more frustration, confusion, more insomnia. It kind of just spins around in the cycles and cycles, versus the belief that my insomnia is actually pretty typical. It's very common. And looking for reasons, looking for similarities rather than differences, looking for reasons why your insomnia is actually common, actually similar to what other people have. That leads to a path of believing that what worked for them, meaning, education, habit change, cognitive behavioral therapy, or mindfulness therapy, or other evidence-based techniques, that will work for me too. And when you start believing that this will work for me, well, that really gives you a foundation to build upon, and that really sets you up for getting past that insomnia. So I think, and it's the same thing I'm doing sleep. I have anxiety and PTSD. It's a little bit in a similar vein. Like these, I get a sense that you feel that will keep you from getting past your insomnia, versus for somebody else that don't have that, it's going to be easier. Well, that is true. Like if somebody has kind of low anxiety, they don't have PTSD, they've had insomnia for 1 year, of course, that's going to be, generally speaking, it's easier to get past insomnia if it's been for a shorter while and you don't have much anxiety. That is true. But plenty of people who have had insomnia for decades with high anxiety, with PTSD, can use the techniques I talk about here and do really, really well. Again, it's just a matter of like believing in it, keep trying, keep working, and sticking with it. So, Beebo, I hope this helped. And please, if you have any follow-up questions, then just post it, and I'll be more than happy to reply to that. All right. So that said, let's actually right behind this comment is one from Ari, and so let's just go over this one. Hi Daniel, I have a question again. I have made the decision last night and stopped taking Klonipin. I keep telling myself that I won't care what's going to happen tomorrow, so pretty much teach my brain how to become careless about insomnia and just keep on living no matter what's going to happen. But I know that this isn't an overnight thing, and it needs process to practice and get the natural sleep back. But what happened to me last night was I just laid in the bed with eyes closed, but still conscious from 10 p.m. till 5 a.m., just unable to fall asleep. This is exactly the same condition when I prescribed Klonipin when it happened 7 days in a row. I've done sleep hygiene, no clock, dark room, cool temperature, no devices. I have a big commitment not to take medication anymore. What would you think I should do next? Thank you. Well, here's the thing. Again, not specific advice to you, Ari, just general thoughts for somebody in your situation. Firstly, what you're describing is very, very, very common. That somebody makes a decision to not to take their medication, or to take half of it, or actually, to be honest with you, other changes too can produce the same result. Like somebody forgets their CPAP machine, which they use for sleep apnea, or somebody decides, I've always taken a hot bath before going to bed, but I don't know if it really helps me. I'm going to stop doing that. Whenever we change something, when it comes to insomnia, there's always that risk of rebound insomnia, complete sleeplessness often. And what produces that is a question, right? Well, it is of course the case that if you're taking a medication for insomnia, then that medication is generally like sedating, and you don't have that in your system anymore. You don't have that sedation. But I believe that has very little actual impact on sleep. It's what really causes this like complete lack of sleep, that kind of complete rebound insomnia, is the anticipation and preoccupation and thinking. Meaning, if somebody decides, I'm not going to take my trazodone tonight, then almost guaranteed that person is going to, at 11 p.m. or 12 midnight or something, really start thinking about what's going on, self-monitoring. They'll be like, okay, it's 11 now, I don't feel sleepy at all. Maybe it's because I didn't take my trazodone. Maybe I should take half. No, I've decided not to take it. What if I don't take it tomorrow? Then I can't sleep at all. If I don't sleep at all, I'm going to feel terrible tomorrow. What if this happens the following night again? What if I lose my ability to sleep? What if this? And that, the kind of what if, the process of thinking and self-monitoring, that is what causes complete sleeplessness. So not surprisingly, but a lot of people make the conclusion that is proof that they now have to take this medication, or they don't sleep at all. Many people have a sense that their insomnia has progressed to a point where they now will become completely sleepless without this medication or supplement or whatever it is. But in reality, it's not proof of that at all. It's just proof that the self-monitoring and wondering and the what if that comes with knowing that you've made a change produces that complete sleeplessness. And we can read here, I have done sleep hygiene, no clock, dark room, cool temperature, no devices. Well, avoiding clock, I think, is very, very sound, very important. Now, the other things like keeping it dark, cool, and no devices, that can work two ways. And I think I've really began to believe that that what we call sleep hygiene is a negative, meaning when someone keeps their room cool, that you do that because you want to sleep more. It becomes a sleep effort, which we just talked with Beebo about. Sleep efforts always backfire. I think avoiding devices, same thing, it becomes a sleep effort. One thing with that is, though, I think it's totally fine to use a TV or screen or whatever at bedtime or overnight, with the caveat that it's almost impossible oftentimes not to know what time it is, and not knowing what time it is good. And just squeezing this one in here, a lot of people wonder, like, what should I be doing, like, before I go to bed, the hour, the half hour? I really believe that should be something enjoyable, like, watching a Netflix show or reading a book or like whatever it is, but something that you enjoy. Now, that said, what would you think I should do next? So I don't know, Ari, what your situation is, but I think I really believe in the combination of education and habit modification in one of the most commonly used technique, cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia. That is exactly what's done. The C is the kind of the education. The behavioral modification is like changing habits. And I would say the core technique that is really important, at least when you start, is like spending less time in bed. And that could be maybe 6 hours is for most people a good place to start. So you decide, I'm going to get up at 5 and I'm not going to go to bed before 11 p.m., for example, right? And what happens when you do that is a couple of things. Number one, one important psychological aspect there when you spend less time in bed is that you maybe it's a step towards trying less to sleep. When a lot of people have trouble sleeping, they cast a wide net. They spend more time in bed to see how much, like, get as much sleep as possible. But when you decide to spend less time in bed, there's a psychological effect of that, which is I'm actually allotting less time for sleep. I'm trying less to sleep, which can be helpful. Number two, you build a strong sleep drive. Like when you go to bed, you are more likely to be sleepy, and that sleepiness can overpower anxiety and preoccupation and self-monitoring that is keeping you awake. That's another benefit. Third benefit is that when this starts kicking in, if you will, which typically happens week 1 or maybe week 2, meaning you notice some subtle positives, meaning you notice that you fell asleep a little bit quicker than you thought you would, or you fell back asleep a little bit quicker than you thought you would. That starts building sleep confidence. You're starting to see like, whoa, I can sleep without taking a supplement or medication, or without any external thing. I can sleep, by myself. Or that came out wrong. I can sleep based on things I do myself. That starts building sleep confidence. So I think that is one of the most important things, having like a sleep window like that, maybe a 6-hour sleep window, and just sticking with it, not questioning it, just like keep forward. That's the very basics. But I think for somebody that is let's say the information here on this channel, for example, or other things you can find online, if that's not sufficient to help you, maybe working with a coach is good. And it could be like CBTI generally, I think, is the best thing to do. You can find anyone who's good with CBTI can work with. My good friend Martin Reed, for example, has a great program. Myself, if you have an iPhone, I'm available on Bedtime with a Y on the App Store, which I already mentioned earlier. And I want to sneak one thing in there, which myself, Martin Reed, and Michael Schwartz, we often chat. We text each other. And at some point, I think those Martin said, how somebody is a good CBTI therapist? Well, ask them how much sleep a person should get. If that therapist says 8 hours, you should not work with them, because they don't have the basic insight of realizing that varies. Some people do really great on less, some people do great on more. But most importantly, you should not focus on that when you're starting to work on your insomnia. Okay, Ari, hope this helped. Keep in touch. Let me know how things go. And thanks so much for commenting. And then, since we're here in the comment section, let us go over the last comment. And then we have 2 emails after that. And this is from Gabriella, who has contributed a lot. I'm very thankful, Gabriella. And now, let's see, there are 2 more. No, I think this is it. So this is a comment on episode pod number 58. And it reads as follows. Thanks, Daniel. I feel less guilty about taking. So what we had talked about was melatonin. And I said in that episode that taking melatonin is not a problem, as long as you know that the sleep that follows is your own. It's produced by your own body. And melatonin has minimal impact, really. So I thought I don't think it's a problem, but just know that you yourself is producing the sleep, important for building sleep confidence. So that's why she said, I feel less guilty about taking it, LOL. One last question. I've been going to bed and trying to fall asleep on my own to gain the confidence. If I feel like 25 to 30 minutes go by and I haven't fallen asleep yet, I'll take the 1 milligram of melatonin and not off. Should I start taking it as soon as I go to bed so I don't have to have that option in my brain? Or should I continue to try to fall asleep on my own without it and then take it if I feel like I can't? Not sure if that option of should I take it now is hindering my ability to fall asleep. This question really shows a lot of insight. And I don't remember exactly what we talked about in light of like Gabriella's comments before, but I have a really good feeling that you, Gabriella, you're going to do really well pretty soon here. This question is really good, and I don't know who it was, Michael or Martin, who it was Michael Schwartz who really he said the following to me, and I think it was Martin too. We had a discussion, but he said the following, that medications for insomnia are really not a problem unless they're taken conditionally. Meaning, if somebody takes a certain medication every time, the same time every night, they usually don't cause much problems. But if somebody's using them conditionally, they can, because what happens is, and when I say conditionally, I mean somebody goes to bed to see if they need to take the medication or not. Well, that going to bed and kind of like self-monitoring, kind of feeling how sleepy you are, kind of checking what's going on, that produces so much insomnia. You know, you're lying there and you're like, should I take it? Maybe I can wait a little bit longer. Maybe I should take half of it. Maybe I should. That produces so much anxiety and insomnia. And then a lot of people go like hours, like 3-4 hours, and like finally, no, I give up. Now I'm going to take it. And then what happens is, then they sleep too long into the morning. Which in your case, Gabriella, it's not at all that scenario, but it's a little bit of the same vein. So I definitely think the following, that it is better when it comes to medication or supplements or things like that, to have a little step back. When it comes to insomnia, the sense of loss of control, not understanding what's going on, the what if, the wondering, all that is a huge problem. So you really want a kind of like, I think it's really helpful if things are like set. The more set things are, the less questioning, the better. So when it comes to this particular question here, I think it's much better for somebody to decide, I'm going to take this at the same time every night, no matter what, then decide, and then going like, oh, I'm going to see if I need it or not. I think that's really better. Keeping that in mind, whenever you make changes, so if you've taken something conditionally and now you decide you're going to take it every night, that often initially can cause some rebound insomnia, because you're like, I took it at 10 p.m. I didn't take it. I didn't wait. What's going to happen? So initially it can be, it can cause a little bit of rebound insomnia, but generally speaking, I think it's much better to do the same thing every night. Same thing every night. Absolutely. And then when you have the sleep confidence, then you may decide not to take it at all, or just continue taking it, or whatnot. Doesn't matter as long as you're sleeping good. Okay. Very cool. So we talked about that, and 2 more emails. Here is one from Vincent, who have also contributed a lot lately. I'm very thankful, Vincent, for your questions. Here's another one. I read your post from episode 110. I think probably Vincent has checked like all the videos from episode 1 to episode 10. I'm confused about stimulus control. And by the way, stimulus control is like a CBT technique, which simply means that if you can't sleep, you get out of the bed, and then when you feel sleepy again, you go to bed. That's very simplified, but that's basically what it is. My problem is I have a TV in my bedroom. 1 hour before I go to sleep, can I watch TV? I watch TV shows or turn off the TV 30 or 45 minutes prior to bedtime, or could I just turn off the TV and just sleep? Okay, so the question here is like, should I stop watching TV maybe 30 to 45 minutes before I go to bed, or could I just turn it off when I feel like it and sleep? Right. So I think it's a pretty straightforward question here. So I think the following: if somebody decides to turn their TV off 30 to 45 minutes before they want to sleep, then to me it's kind of like probably a sleep effort, meaning you're trying to make sure you can sleep by turning the TV off, and those sleep efforts are never good. So if that's the case, if the thinking is that like I'm hoping that turning off the TV will make me sleep, then it's not something one should do. One should not do anything to try to produce sleep. On the other hand, if somebody says, I turn the TV off 45 minutes before I go to bed because I like having 45 minutes to relax and drink some tea and chat with a friend, well, then that's great. That's fantastic. But if somebody watches TV until they feel like I'm feeling really sleepy now and then go to bed, that's perfectly fine. So based on what I'm understanding here, as a general advice to somebody in Vincent's situation, I think it's better to just enjoy that TV, watch it until you feel sleepy, and then go to bed. And just because the time before you go to bed, I think you should really enjoy, look forward to. What I think a lot of people do is they turn everything off, turn off the sound, keep it really cool, and then hope to sleep. And that just leads to preoccupation, worry, anxiety, stress, and not sleeping. So I hope I got this one, Vincent. I know another time I kind of missed the question, but I hope I got this one. If not, please leave another question. And with that said, there are actually 3 questions from MJ, or 3 emails that I have not read yet. So let's just read them and answer as we go along here. This came in 5 hours ago. I recently listened to a podcast on the fellow who got over his sleep issues, which was awesome. I think that was probably Bobby. On the comment section, there was a comment on the one person who went to the doc for his or particular sleep issues, and the doc wanted to prescribe her antidepressant pills. You asked whether or not this person had an issue with being depressed. Now, in regards to that, is this something, a first-line defense against sleep issues with docs who are not educated enough on CBT? Question mark. I think a lot of people who don't understand insomnia, which is, by the way, not to blame anyone, like in med school, there's like literally 0 education on insomnia. A lot of people don't understand it. And I've heard people say like, oh yeah, oftentimes people with insomnia usually are depressed, so you should give them an antidepressant. I've heard those sentiments echoed. So yeah, I think a lot of doctors kind of like just try that. That is true. Now, reading on here. So obviously someone goes to the doc and says, I can't sleep very well, either cannot or wake up in the middle of the night. Sometimes, as you know, this starts with a particular stressful event or even bad sleep habits. But if it was a stressful event and whatever reason you start to have sleep issues, obviously this can create problems with worry, etc., over sleep, hence an issue with sleep. Also, obviously, if it's really bothering you, you get anxious or you're depressed of not being able to sleep that well. You originally go to the doc because you are in a situation and the doc gives you an antidepressant to get over your situation. You take them, you're feeling better, etc., so you come off the antidepressant because who wants to stay on them, right? So you are off them, but the sleep issues say come back because of the bad behaviors. So a person goes and takes CBTI, books, learning how to sleep again naturally, etc. Then you read, say, a comment on a podcast that a person goes back to the doc and they want to prescribe an antidepressant again, because obviously they are probably not in the best of moods. They are sometimes too quick with the pen and want to write your prescription. What are your thoughts on that? Because obviously when you have good sleep or restful sleep, you feel amazing thoughts. Does this make sense? Hope you can touch on it in the morning. Well, I think, I think as I said here that most physicians, family doctors, even psychiatrists, even psychologists, oftentimes don't really understand insomnia. And again, it's just because the medical field has never embraced it. In the psychological field, neither. Like nobody has really said this is our issue. We should really educate ourselves and try to do the best for people, etc. So yeah, a lot of times what happens is the doctor tries to tell people about sleep hygiene, keep the bedroom dark, keep it cool, which, as we know, virtually never helps. Oftentimes makes things worse. And then when patients come back and say that didn't work, a lot of doctors feel like I got to try something and then prescribe something, So I think that definitely is a big problem. I hope this answered your question, Mark. If not, let me know. And then there was a quick one here from MJ. When you have awesome rest, you feel great, like you're supposed to, LOL. But if you don't have the best of rest, you feel sometimes horrible or not your best. So in my opinion, sometimes docs are too quick with the pen. But I guess with the CBTI techniques, you have to, accept those temporary feelings of not feeling your best. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I think actually this was somebody who commented on this channel who said the following, that is kind of like, imagine if you go to the gym and you hit the gym and then the following day you feel like you have so much pain, you've cramps and things like that. That is not proof that the gym isn't working. On the contrary, you're supposed to feel that way when you're starting something new. And it's the same thing with CBT. The first week, the first 2 weeks can often be really tough. You can often have like a little bit of a nosedive. You feel like more tired initially. So yes, you have to kind of work through that, and then comes the ascent. Absolutely. Cool. So let's see. And then one more thing. I forgot one more thing regarding the previous email I sent you. Is it because the docs are free with writing prescriptions as if they give the patient the depression test? And obviously, one of the questions on there is about sleep. Is it because some doctors are not schooled enough on sleep problems? They just assume that a person is depressed? I think I already answered this one. The quick answer is yes. And by the way, it's a huge problem. I hope one day sorry, I missed this. Nimi, good morning. Are you on air from Stockholm? I'm in Eugene, Oregon, but please, thanks for commenting. What was I going to say here? Oh yeah, huge problem. I think one day I hope that education on insomnia, education on cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia is going to be part of med school. I think that's something that at least should be touched on in med school, and something that everyone who's in primary care, everyone who's in psychiatry really should at least know about. Not necessarily be able to perform themselves, but at least know that it's available. And I also hope that there will be an avenue to refer those patients somewhere. I think a problem today is that even though your primary care doctor knows about CBTI, there's nobody to refer patients to. And that's where I hope that actually what I'm working with, it's an app, but it's really more of a course where you have a coach built in, and those type of solutions I hope will really make a difference in the future. That said, we will conclude here. I'm super grateful for all the questions. Please keep them coming, and I'll be back with more tomorrow. Until then, stay out of trouble.